What is it, Karkov? Are you so fond of her? Oh, I am sorry. She can't stay with us. She must be destroyed. Oh, Father, no! There's an unfortunate flaw in her pristine beauty. And you know, I always insist on perfection.
Dupree, get it over with.
Wax thou art, and unto wax thou shalt return.
Dupree, my time is valuable.
I apologize for keeping you waiting, Mr. Burns. As you can see, my work goes on long after the museum is closed.
Let's get down to business. I have the bank draft and the papers right here.
Oh, yes, the papers. Can we discuss it upstairs in the museum?
Upstairs, downstairs, what difference does it make? You know this is the third time I've been back?
Yes, I quite understand. You've been most patient. This way. Poor Karkov. He becomes so deeply attached to all the members of our family. He's really a most sensitive creature.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, come on, let's go.
guillotine at the Place de la Révolution, and the unfortunate Marie Antoinette. Authentic in every detail. Even the guillotine was imported from France. Her hair turned completely white shortly before the execution, you know.
Yeah. Dupree. You gonna make a deal with me or not?
Lizzie Broderick, a countrywoman of yours, Mr. Burns. Fall River, Massachusetts. Anno Domini 1800...
I've had the tour and lecture, thank you.
This is where bloody Queen Mary sat. The setting was excellent, but there was an imperfection on the left side of her face that I detected only today. It's a pity she had to be destroyed.
Well, she looked good enough to me.
I've made an exhaustive life study of these famous and infamous people. I know every intimate detail of their lives and their physical makeups. I feel I'm actually living with them.
It could be that you've lived with them for too long.
Perhaps. Lately, strange things have occurred.
Oh, what kind of strange things?
Look at Jack the Ripper. It's as if he knows what I'm contemplating. He doesn't want me to sell.
Dupree, that's hogwash.
None of them want me to sell. They like it here. We've been together so long.
Look, my operation in New York is very big. It's just off Broadway. Now, I'll set the figures up exactly as they're set up here. Your friends won't know the difference, believe me.
Then there's poor Cockle.
I'm not buying any live monsters, just wax ones.
The poor fellow knows nothing but this museum.
There are institutions for freaks like that. Now, let's get these papers signed.
Mr. Burns, may I ask for one more night to think it over?
All right, I'll give you one more night. But it's the last time I'm coming back, I promise you.
I assure you the matter will be resolved in the morning.
Just a minute. Are you stalling me just to jack up the price?
Oh, no, your offer is quite fair.
All right.
Thank you. Good night, Mr. Bones.
Good night.
I'll see you in the morning. First day of play.
Tombstones all day long, while digging graves for corpses in the churchyard across the way, fills me older brother's heart with song. Sister Susie sewing shrouds, me uncle drives a nurse, and now they've made an helper out of me. Me aunt's a casket draper, ma's a lady undertaker. Gee, but we're an happy family, gee, but we're an happy family.
Good evening, Governor. What's your pleasure?
A half and half, and send the boss over, will you?
You're looking at the owner himself, Governor, Tim Fowley.
Oh. Doesn't that gal know any cheerful songs? I just came from that spooky joint next door.
Well, I don't blame you for wanting a bit of cheer, Governor. That's the den of fiends and loonies, that is. Bad enough in the daytime. I wouldn't fancy it at night.
Tell me something. How well do you know Dupree?
Oh, better than I ever knew my old man. Dupree's a tenant of mine. I own the building.
Cousin Kate is weaving reeds, me boyfriend's hanging crepe. We're all as happy as can be.
Was he always crazy, or is he just going up his rocker due to old age?
Well, he may be a bit peculiar on and off, but gentle and harmless as a tabby cat. He's a good old boy.
Gee, but we're an happy family. Gee, but we're a cheery bunch, singing in memoriam, pleased to have another soul depart, and see empires crackling in the crematorium warms the cockles of me happy heart. Flossie Fetch's formaldehyde.
Oh, thanks.
Their handiwork is quite a joy.
How do you get her to stop that funeral dirge?
Oh, and it's a long one, Governor. The only thing that shuts Laurie off is when some bloke takes a fancy to her and stands for a drink or two.
I take a fancy to her, but not that lousy song.
Good night, Laurie.
Cheerio, Mr. Fowley. Thanks, love.
Can I give you a lift?
I'm sure you could, Governor, but not tonight.
Oh, come on. I'll treat you right.
No doubt, but my engagement book's full up. Pop around in a day or so, there's a love.
All right, in a day or so.
Good night, Carco.
You've betrayed us.
No, I wouldn't do that to you, Jack. Believe me, I wouldn't. Please believe me.
Betrayer.
J'accuse Monsieur Dupree, traitor.
Liar, Dupree.
No, Lizzie. No, I didn't lie to you. Please believe me. I didn't lie to you, Lizzie.
Liar.
I wouldn't lie to you, Lizzie. Please believe me.
Liar.
Dupree, we won't let you sell, Dupree.
I'm not going to sell. I was talking about it, but I decided against it.
Liar.
Please believe me. Please.
Betrayer.
Liar! Liar!
Traitor. Judas.
Traitor.
Liar!
You've betrayed us.
Liar.
Liar!
Traitor.
You've betrayed us. Liar.
Believe me. Oh, no, get away. No, Liz, please leave me, please. Karkov, is that you? My friends, I explained it to you. It's all right. Don't worry. Mr. Burns made me a very generous offer. I had to listen to him. Don't you understand? I had to.
Liar.
blood, they say.
All right, now move back, please. You're blocking the thoroughfare. Come on. Move back. Let the cab come through. Now, I don't know what you're all waiting here for. The museum is closed. Won't be open for some considerable time, so why don't you all just go home peaceful?
See, London's very own Jack the Ripper.
What's all this howling about?
It's one of them bloody evil monsters from the Chamber of Horrors. Right there he was, crocking straight out at us.
Oh, you ladies have got a touch of the Jim Jams. There's nothing in that place but dummies.
Including the high and mighty police.
Been dusted? No prints? Why, you taking a photograph of a wax figure?
Well, he's a suspect, ain't he, Inspector? Now then, Mr. Fexner, you say you were a partner of the deceased.
No, I did not say that, Inspector Daniels. I am not a legal partner. I was Mr. Dupree's associate for a great many years.
Coroner tells me the death occurred 6 or 7 hours ago. You found the door securely locked when you came here at 8 o'clock this morning?
When I arrived at 7 o'clock this morning.
Yes, 7. Bit early to report for work, isn't it? You don't open to the public until 10.
I've already explained that. I live quite close by in High Holborn. I had a lot of work to catch up on, and yesterday was my day off, so I went to Brighton.
Not aware of a train that arrives from Brighton that early in the morning?
I came back from Brighton last night.
Yes, and went to your rooms.
No, I spent the night with some friends in Longacre. I already explained that, too.
Quite so. You explained it twice, without a hitch. Very nicely. Thank you, Mr. Flexner.
I told you everything I did at least twice. I guess I'm the last one to see Dupree alive.
No. No, not the last one, Mr. Burns. Unless you murdered him.
Inspector? I think you ought to have a look at what's turned up in the cellar.
It's Karkov. Poor soul. I'd forgotten all about him.
He'd be a hard one to forget.
Not when you get used to him. Some dreadful accident when he was a child left him a deaf mute, and the police found him abandoned and didn't know what to do with him. So Dupree took him in, gave him this place to live, let him do odd jobs around here, treated him like a son. Some say not without reason.
You tried to question him, Sergeant Hawks?
He reads lips. I gather he didn't notice anything unusual during the night.
I'd ask him a whole lot more.
Such as, Mr. Burns?
He knew I was discussing business with Dupree last night. He was here.
You don't suggest he killed Dupree for that reason?
Nobody could figure he's going to be out of a home and a job. Where would a freak like that go?
He seems to be genuinely grieved over the death of Dupree. He's been sobbing like a baby.
He's a dummy. How do you know Dupree was dead? Who told him?
I told him.
I say he's sick. Look at all those pictures of that cheap woman.
You're heading up a blind alley, Mr. Burns. Coroner says that Dupree was stabbed by a right-handed man. This fellow's right arm is withered. Useless. Forget it. Bloody slaughterhouse. Strange, with all these weapons.
Why would the killer go to the trouble of using the Ripper's scowl?
Yet that's precisely what he did. And wiped it.
Is there anything of value missing?
Well, I don't see anything here. I'll take a look upstairs in Dupree's living quarters.
Maybe he did it.
A wax dummy, Mr. Burns.
The real Jack the Ripper. You never caught him, did you?
Sergeant Hawkes here is a bit of an expert on Jack. He was assigned to the Ripper case for over a year when he first joined the yard.
Not much I didn't learn about Jack, except who he is, where he is, and how to nab him. He committed his last murder over 10 years ago and hasn't been heard from since.
Could be that he came out of retirement because he didn't like the way he looked here in wax.
I told you, sir. I got my orders. No one goes in here except on police business.
And I told you... Oh, Inspector, tell this fool who I am.
Excuse me.
It's all right, Parker, all right. Mr. Southcott is the dead man's solicitor. I sent for him.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir.
Terrible thing. Glad you're in charge, Daniel.
Just poking my nose in at the preliminary investigation. Sergeant Hawkes here will be in charge of the case and carry through.
Oh, ladies, please. This is Inspector Daniels, Sergeant Hawkes. This is Margaret Collins, Dupree's niece, and her guardian, Miss Hawthorne. They just arrived at my office from Suffolk when your message came.
My sympathy, Miss.
Poor Uncle. I hadn't seen him in some time. I was so happy when he sent for us. Now...
Dupree came to see me last week. He asked for his will, said he wanted to make a change in it. At the same time, he asked me to send for his niece and her guardian. We were to meet at my office this morning.
How was the will changed?
He never returned it. I assume it's still here.
It isn't among his papers.
Well, if there's no will, the closest relative inherits. And the only relative is Meg.
Please, Julia, we don't need to go into all that now.
Now is the best time. I'm this girl's legal guardian until she's of age, and I'm advising you that this place now belongs to her.
Madam, I'm grateful for your legal counsel in this delicate matter.
Mr. Southcott. Excuse me, sir. As you well know, sir, I was Mr. Dupree's only associate for 20 years. And he promised faithfully that Clark and Fenady would be mentioned in the will and that we would inherit this museum.
You were, Mr. Flexner. But Dupree said he was changing that will.
But you know very well he intended me to have it.
You were paid for your services, were you not?
A fraction of my worth. I staged and designed all these tableaus. And I fashioned every one of the good figures in here.
It's no good arguing, Mr. Flexner. Until the will is found, Miss Collins must be regarded by the law as the legal heir.
Come, Meg. Let's look over this ghastly business which you've come into.
Is there any evidence of robbery, Mr. Flexner?
No, nothing seems to be missing. The cash box with yesterday's receipts hasn't been touched.
No secret compartments, vaults?
None that I know of.
I couldn't help overhearing. You the new owner, miss?
I'm Miss Hawthorne. Please discuss any business matters with me.
Well, I had to deal with Dupree to buy the waxworks.
That is ridiculous. He never would have sold the museum.
You probably tried to talk him out of it.
We never even discussed it. He always promised that I would end up with the place.
A man forgets his promises when you shove a fistful of money in his face. The offer is still open, ladies.
We shall need a little time, Mr. Burns. Drop around after the funeral.
Well, I've waited this long. Good day, lady.
It does seem strange Uncle would sell. He devoted his whole life to this place.
Well, we may not sell either. First we'll move in, then we'll open for business and see how well the place does.
Live here?
Well, we can't afford a hotel, Meg. After all, this place is yours. Oh, and there's quite a crowd out in front, and I'm sure there are hundreds of dear, morbid souls anxious to pay to see where murder was done.
That's crass and ghoulish. With poor Dupree not yet decently in his grave.
It's all very well for you to moralize, Mr. Southcott. You're a rich lawyer, and you can afford the sentiment. We can't. I mean to get as much out of this place as possible, as soon as possible.
I'll let you know precisely how much you'll get as soon as I've had a chance to examine the estate.
I expect an accurate accounting.
Good day, madam. Miss Collins?
Going back to the corpse?
Yes.
I'll drop you off. You're in charge now, Sergeant. Keep in touch with the yard.
Yes, sir.
Do you really intend to operate the museum, Juliet?
I certainly do.
There's a great deal more to it than just opening the doors, you know. There are the lectures, the design and maintenance of the figures.
Very well, Mr. Flexner. You may stay on and function as usual, at your regular salary.
That's most generous of you, considering I've spent a great deal of my life here and have nowhere else to go. And what about Karkov?
I remember him, poor man. I saw him when I was here as a little girl.
He does odd jobs around here and works for practically nothing, a shilling a week.
His price is right. Let him stay on for the moment.
Thank you. It's all right, Karkov. You're going to stay. You're going to stay.
Sergeant Hawkes?
See that he gets it.
When will you remove your bobby from the door so that we can open for business?
Shortly, Miss Hawthorne. Perhaps you'd care to go upstairs and have a look at your rooms while I step next door to the music hall for a moment?
Just like man on the street. Used to drop in for a pint and a chat now and then. A bit lonely, I should think. I mean, all he had was them dummies and Karkov.
And what about Karkov?
Oh, Dupree treated him like his own. Did all sorts of kindly things for the poor dumb creature. Such as having him meet Laurie.
Laurie?
And Laurie Mel. She sings here.
Dupree brought Karkov in here.
Lord love us, no, sir. He took Laurie down to the beast's hole in the cellar one day. Asked if she'd meet the ugly brute, smiled pretty and shake his hand. And, you know, talk to him sweet-like without turning green about the gills. And she did. Poor master broke out sobbing when she left. Only woman who ever treated him like a human.
And the walls of his cell are covered with pictures of Miss Mel.
He worships her.
Did you see anyone lurking about in the street outside when you closed up last night?
No. Peace-shook fog, sir. Oh, Laurie might have. Not likely, though. A girl with her looks don't walk far before she's got company, if you know what I mean.
Perfectly. She's a streetwalker.
Oh, that's a harsh word, sir. Laurie's just a friendly, good-hearted girl.
Well, the two are not incompatible, are they? Thank you, Mr. Foley. You've been most helpful. Good day.
They say it was Jack the Ripper slashed the old man's gullet.
And they still standing in there with this bloody knife ready to slash again.
Me mind the back, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, the museum is now open. Only those with tickets, if you please. There'll be another tour in an hour. Now, if you'll follow me. Just give your tickets to this gentleman here. Thanks.
It's him!
Poor Karkov. It's terrible to trade on his appearance that way.
He's no doubt hardened to it by now.
In these aisles, ladies and gentlemen, you will meet some of the most fiendish monsters in all history. You'll meet vampires, cannibals, poisoners, stranglers, stabbers, and rippers. This is Willie Grossman, a meek and timid man. He was a sausage vendor in the railway station at Berlin. Now, when plump and pretty young country girls used to come to the railway station, he would entice them up to his rooms with the promise of work. And there he would murder them. Then he would dissect them, pickle the flesh, and grind it up into sausages and sell them at the railway station.
Ah, I've had me last sausage.
This is Constable Henry Bolt, A London bobby who strangled 22 people in a little more than a year, just to relieve the monotony of his nightly rounds. This way, please. Now here we have the infamous Lizzie Borden of Fall River, Massachusetts. Her intense dislike for her parents was celebrated by a famous ballad, which I'm sure you must have heard sung to the tune of Tarara Boomdier. Now let me see, how does it go? Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. And then to even up the score, she gave her father 40 more. It is amusing, isn't it? This way, please.
Horrible people. They really existed?
And Mr. Flexner seems to enjoy the workings of such sick and twisted minds.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you just gather round, I will show you the most infamous murderer of all time, Bluebeard, also known as Camara the Accursed. Among his victims were his 4 wives, slain by strangulation, poisoning, bludgeoning, and burning. And now, if you'll come over here.
Well,
this is Lucrezia Borgia, daughter of a pope, patroness of poets, and a pretty poisoner of people in her younger and more frivolous days. However, in later life, she became a model of every virtue.
Show us the bloody Ripper.
We want the Ripper.
Very well. And there he stands, Jack the Ripper, this fiend with the skill of a surgeon, who has committed at least 20 murders in the city of London. And only this morning another foul murder was committed in this very museum, with that same scalpel he has in his hand now. You see, Jack the Ripper was never caught. He could very well be alive today. He could have been in this room to examine his likeness. As a matter of fact, he could be in this room at this very moment. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you'll follow me to the next exhibit, I will show... madam. You keep your hands off Jack, and he might keep his hands off you.
Those people actually seem to think Jack the Ripper killed my uncle.
No, that's just Flexner feeding their morbid imaginations.
But if the Ripper was never caught, he could still be alive.
No, that's extremely unlikely. Believe me, I know about Jack.
You're trying to make me feel better. But still, somebody did it.
Well, that was the first tour. I think it went off rather well, don't you?
Your stories were terrifying.
They were meant to be.
I suppose you've told them so often they've become rather dull and tedious to you by now.
Well, no, actually, it was my first time. You see, Mr. Dupree took the tours and gave the lectures. I thought he dwelt too much with the victims, so I urged him to spend more time with the murderers, their drives, their twisted motives, their phobias. And I was right. It was much more effective.
Miss Collins, I'd like to go up and have another look at your uncle's papers and personal effects, if I may.
Of course.
Thank you, Miss Collins.
Very good. We made more with Dupree dead than the old money grubber did when he was alive.
What an awful thing to say, Julia.
Oh, everybody's misfortune. Somebody's gain.
It's just as well you didn't arrive in London until this morning, Miss Hawthorne.
Oh, but we arrived last night.
It was very late. We wanted to be fresh for Mr. Southcote in the morning. We took rooms in a small hotel on Bow Street.
Bow Street? Just 2 blocks from here.
Sergeant Hawkes, surely we're not suspects.
No. That was just a policeman's reflex.
Come in.
I've closed the museum for the night. I'll be back at my usual time in the morning.
You have a key?
Yes, of course. I always open up.
I'll open. Give me the key. Hey, Mr. Flexner, that creature, Karkov.
He never leaves the museum. I've already given him his supper.
Supper? Oh, yes. I hadn't thought of feeding him. I suppose he is quite a nuisance, but he makes an effective addition at the entrance. He might make more effective addition outside, frightening people in.
Julia, don't say that, even in jest. I'll be glad to take Karkov's meals down.
Well, you needn't bother, Miss Collins. I'll look after him now, as I promised Mr. Dupree I would. Good night.
I'll be back when you open in the morning. Thank you for the tea. Well, there's no need to see me out. I'll see the front door is properly locked, and may I suggest you keep it that way?
We won't open it to anyone till you arrive, Sergeant Hawkes.
Fine. Good night, ladies.
He seems quite clever. I'm glad he's on the case.
I'm sure you are.
I mean, I'm sure he'll catch the murderer.
He's more apt to catch that hopeful look in your eye.
Things may pick up a bit tomorrow. That loony bin and its bloody murder snagged all the business today. Oh, well. Ta-ra, Laurie.
Yeah.
Sweet to the sweet. Good night, love.
Kharkov?
Miss Collins! Miss Collins? Miss Collins?
Meg? Meg!
Down here, Miss Hawthorne.
Oh. What happened, Sergeant?
Well, you're all right now. Sit down. Now, can you tell me what frightened you?
I couldn't sleep. I came down to get a glass of milk. I heard noises in here. Then I noticed. Lucretia Borgia. Her hand.
The hand is broken off. Is that all that startled you?
Not broken. Cut. The Ripper did it. He moved.
Now, Meg, you are having a bad dream walking in your sleep.
I saw him move. He came at me.
No.
Please believe me, Sergeant.
Let's have a look, shall we? Just wax.
I'm sure I saw him move. And what about Lucretia Borgia's hand?
Oh, the work of some vandal in the crowds today. We just didn't notice earlier.
No, Julia. I saw both hands on the woman just before I went to the kitchen.
The hand isn't there now.
There. If it was only just cut off, how did it leave the room? Nobody else has been in or out.
Have you been there long? Did you see anyone after the museum closed tonight? Did you see anyone after the museum closed tonight? Very well, you may go back to bed now.
Now, him. It might be him she saw. In fact, he might be the one behind all this nasty business here lately. He's a beast and a cretin.
Miss Hawthorne, now that Dupree is gone, Miss Collins is the man's only hope. Even a beast doesn't bite the hand that feeds it.
Well then, Sergeant Hawkes, and what were you doing prowling about outside in the dead of night?
Waiting for the murderer to return to the scene of his crime. It happens, you know.
Maybe he never left. Julia, sell this place. Let's get out of here as soon as possible.
All right, Meg, we'll see.
And I don't care what the price is. Just get rid of it.
But this is all you have, Meg. You can't just give it away. Let me handle the business.
Ladies, I suggest you try to get some sleep now.
Thank you for being so quick to respond, Sergeant.
I'm glad it was nothing more. No, and I'll see that the glass in the front door is replaced first thing in the morning.
At Scotland Yard's expense, I trust, since you broke it?
Julia!
At the Yard's expense, naturally. Good night. Good night, Jack.
Days on this earth are as a shadow, swifter than the weaver's shuttle, flickering faintly as a candle, and as quickly snuffed out. So let every man set his house in order, for here the wicked cease from troubling, and here the weary be at rest. Our dear departed brother was one who feared God and eschewed evil. He comes to his grave in the full ripe age, as a shock of corn cometh in its season. He shall return no more to his house, neither shall his place know him any longer. The Lord gave, the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Amen.
I knew he shouldn't be allowed to come.
Miss Hawthorne, I can't wait around any longer. I have a business to run in New York. Are you going to sell me those wax figures or aren't you?
At the right price.
That's impossible. Dupree's property hasn't been legally transferred to his niece yet.
I'm sure some other good lawyer will see that the whole thing is done in escrow. Mr. Burns, come around to the museum this evening after closing.
I'll be there. Please.
You asked him to call after closing? Why, certainly. We're going to get back and open the museum as fast as we can get there. There'll be customers waiting.
I'd say the period of mourning is officially over, wouldn't you?
Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. It's like the big pot of witches brewing Macbeth.
We keep the wax boiling night and day. Sometimes we have to melt parts of figures, sometimes entire figures, because in time they do deteriorate and they lose their shape and texture, and the likenesses spoil. Now over here...
It's all like a scene dock in a theatrical warehouse.
Exactly. And we even pre-fashion parts of figures, so that when a new fiend or monster bursts upon the world, we can have him on exhibition almost immediately.
Miss Collins.
It's Uncle.
I'm sorry, Miss Collins. I didn't think you'd be down here. I should have covered it up sooner.
But why? Uncle wasn't a fiend or monster.
No, but he was a victim. As I said before, we like to be prepared, so that when his murderer is finally caught, half the tableau will already be completed.
You'd put Dupree on display in his own museum. And you don't find that a trifle mercenary? Gauche?
No, I think he would have ordered it. You see, the success of this museum is based upon sensationalism and not sentiment.
Is there a direct entrance to the cellar from the outside?
Yes, but it's always locked. It's never used.
Well, it certainly hasn't been used in a long time, but there must be another way to enter the museum.
Why?
All the doors were locked the night your uncle was killed. And last night, all my men were watching all the entrances, front and rear. Yet someone...
You know it's a pleasure doing business with somebody that can make up their mind. I'll bring over the bank draft and the papers tomorrow.
Well, splendid.
And I'll have my crew come in next week and take all of this stuff out.
Well, at your convenience. And I wish you luck with the monsters in New York.
Thank you. Good night.
You don't mean you've actually sold the wax figures?
I have, although it's hardly any concern of yours, Mr. Flexner.
It is my concern. I shall be without a position.
You might speak to Mr. Burns. Perhaps he'll take you to New York. You know more about the museum than anybody.
No. Why should I have to leave London? Besides, I have Kharkov to take care of. And Burns cannot stand the sight of him.
Put him in an institution.
No, I gave my word I would always look after him.
You and Kharkov must just work out your own domestic difficulties.
Mr. Flexner, perhaps if... That was brutal, Julia. The man is sensitive, an artist.
He's a leech. A bloodsucker who attached himself to Dupree for years and probably stole him blind. What do you want?
Don't be unkind. He can't tell you.
You're not allowed up here at night. Go back to your place in the cellar and stay there.
Kharkov, you mustn't grieve about Uncle. He's at rest now, just sleeping peacefully. Your flower's fading because it has no water, and you have nothing to keep it in. Is that it? Come along then. We'll take care of it.
Gee, but we're an happy crowd. Our arts is free and gay. Fathers carving tombstones all day long, while digging graves for corpses in the churchyard across the way fills me older brother's heart with song.
Good evening, Governor.
Oh, good evening. How are you?
Happy to see you becoming a bit of a steady these days.
Is that the only song she knows, that one about death and dying?
Well, it's death and dying doing the best business on this street at the moment, Governor.
I suppose you're right. It was raining so hard I couldn't find a cab, so I might as well celebrate. Give me a half and half, will you?
Half and half it is.
Gee, but we're an happy family.
There we are, Governor.
Oh, thanks. Say, Father, would you join me in one?
Happy to oblige.
Ask the gal, too, will you? You said that's the only way you can shut her up.
While clipping graves and tending tombs and cleaning out the crypts is what me nephew loves to laugh about. Cousin Kate is weaving wreaths, me boyfriend's hanging crepe. We're all as happy as can be. Grandpa's a coffin maker, Grandma's ill, may heaven take her. Gee, but we're an happy family. Gee, but we're an happy family.
Hello, love.
Well, you said to drop around in a day or so. So?
Oh, you do have a knack for bad timing. I've got another engagement directly after work.
Break it.
And that's not the way I keep my friends up.
Here we go. Is it a special celebration of some sort?
Yeah, I just closed the deal.
Deal, Governor?
Yeah, I bought all those wax figures in the joint next door. Every ugly one of them.
Oh. Good evening, Mr. Flexner.
Filthy rich Americans. You're all alike. You don't give a damn about anybody.
I don't give a damn for your opinion, that's for sure.
Come over here with your bloody dollars and cart something off that I've slaved years to build.
All right. I've got money. That's how I get what I want. You've got talent. Build another waxworks.
This took me a lifetime.
Take another lifetime.
You rotten beggar.
Hold on, Mr. Flexner. You can't come in here insulting customers. Now, come on, step over the bar.
I'm leaving. But I warn you, Mr. Burns, this time your money won't do you any good. I'm not going to allow you to plunder my wax museum. I'll see to it.
Oh, he's got the courage of a titmouse. The hell with him. Come on, drink up. Sit down, drink up.
Come along, Mr. Burns. Time to close out.
What?
The rain stopped. You can get a cab now.
Okay. Oh, I got to settle up.
Oh, you're more than square, Governor. And no charge for the sleeping.
All right.
All right?
Yeah, fine.
Take it easy, huh?
I will. Oh, boy. Okay.
Now, your best chance to hail a cab is 3 blocks north at Oban Station.
North at Oban Station.
That's right.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, Governor. And hurry back.
I will.
Well, I see he made it.
Wobbled off to get a cab. Evening, Laurie.
Cheerio. Mr. Burns, I thought you was on your way home.
I'm still celebrating. Besides, we got a date tonight.
Not tonight, love, I told you.
My money's as good as any other guy's.
It's not a matter of money.
Wait a minute, you tramp.
Hey!
What were you doing? Just being cute with me back there in the saloon?
Hey, none of that. Or I'll have my friend there take a nip at your bottom. That's telling him, love. Good night.
Sleep.
Second murder, wax museum, read all about. Get your paper here, read the gory details. Paper, Governor, right here. Shocking, horrible. Thank you very much. Paper, get your paper right here. Second murder, wax museum.
Clean through the middle he was. Ripped his old belly out. Jack the Ripper again.
Paper, Governor, right here.
You get us on before the creeping coppers nab him.
The Ripper only killed ladies of the street, ducks, not sweepers of the street.
But, Sergeant, don't you...
No, I don't care about that now. Just do as I told you.
Good morning. Where is Mr. Flexner?
He hasn't come to work yet, and he's terribly late.
Thank you.
Oh, Sergeant Hawkes, when will you allow us to open the museum for business?
Just as soon as we've finished looking around and asking questions, if ever. Miss Collins, are you all right?
Yes, thank you.
Good. No prints. We'll have no need of those, Jones. You may go. Kharkov, did you see anything or anyone during the night?
Good.
Your flower was found on the dead man. You know that. Kharkov, it makes you look very guilty. Listen to me. Well, you must have seen someone take the flower from your room.
No. Yeah.
Thank you for coming in, Mr. Fowley. Please be seated.
I was just opening up when your man handed me the news shocker and asked me to step over. I mean, it's getting like a bloody butcher shop in here.
Yes. Now, did you see anyone at all after you closed up last night?
No, sir. But begging your pardon, sir, didn't I just hear you say the poor beast here was guilty?
I said he looks guilty. The white carnation he took from Dupree's coffin was found in the dead man's buttonhole.
Gone.
No, it's too obvious, too much of a calling card.
Oh, I see what you mean, sir.
Kharkov, are you certain you didn't see Mr. Flexner during the night?
Oh.
Very well, you may go back to your room. You may go back to your room, Kharkov.
Speaking of Mr. Flexner, I saw him last night.
On your way home?
No, he came storming into the music hall during the evening. Mad as a boiled owl at Burns he was.
They had a run-in?
No, a bit of name-calling was about the size of it. He didn't fancy the idea of Burns making off with all them monsters.
Did Flexner threaten him?
Said something about stopping him. He'd see to it. Well, Laurie might recall exactly.
Thank you, Mr. Fowley. That will be all for now.
Anytime, Sergeant. Mr. Flexner, about last night, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's perfectly all right, Mr. Fowley. Perfectly all right. Oh, do you mind?
You're very late, Mr. Flexner?
No. Mr. Burns is very late. The late Mr. Burns.
You know about his death.
Yes, I was on my way to work when I read about it, and I might add, with a great deal of pleasure.
Would you mind telling me where you went after you left the music hall last night?
Wouldn't mind at all if I could remember.
Try.
Well, I went back to my rooms and drank every drop in the place.
And that was all?
Oh, no, that was just a start. Then I went over to Soho and practically drank them out of business. Then I drifted down to Limehouse and tried to drink them out of business, and suddenly the lights went out.
And you didn't waken until this morning?
In a Limehouse alley. I was about to start all over again when I read about it.
Would anyone in Limehouse remember you?
Possibly, if I could remember them.
And you can't name one pub you visited?
No. I do remember Chinese, I think.
They're very nearly all Chinese in Limehouse.
Yes, well, you see, this was a woman, and very striking.
Ah, that narrows it down.
Another question, Sergeant.
No, not a question. An observation. I had the feeling your face was vaguely familiar. Now I see there's some resemblance between you and Jack here.
Well, you see, no one knows what the Ripper really looks like. So as I had no model to guide me while fashioning the figure, I might have been guilty of a slight touch of vanity.
Odd sort of thing to be vain about.
Mr. Flexner. You're late, and you look a disgrace.
I feel splendid.
Yes, no doubt you're delighted that we've lost our buyer. And have you finished poking about Sergeant Hawks?
For the moment.
Then may we please open and take advantage of the brisk trade waiting outside?
Very well. Open up. Cash in.
Oh, thank you. And for heaven's sake, Mr. Flexner, go somewhere and tidy up. And do gargle.
Right on time, love.
Made you scream like that? Another bad dream?
Yes, I had a nightmare. But then I woke up and Uncle was standing there, calling my name just like the wax figures in the dream. But he was real. He was alive.
Standing where?
There, near the door. He just stood there, calling my name.
It was part of your bad dream, too.
I was awake, Julia. I saw him.
Meg, listen to me. I hurried over as soon as I heard you scream, and that door was locked. I couldn't get in. You know that you unlocked it for me from the inside.
I don't care what you say, Julia. I saw him.
Don't talk about it any more tonight. I'll stay with you till morning.
In the morning, I'm packing my bag. And I'm going away. I don't know where, but away from here.
I wish you wouldn't, Miss Collins. I have a reason, a theory.
You don't believe me either. You're like Julia. You think I'm a silly child having bad dreams.
Not at all. Your uncle's death wasn't a dream. No, it was Burns. However, I think someone is only trying to frighten you. And I promise you every protection if you'll stay. Just give me another 24 hours.
All right, Sergeant Hawkes, I'll try.
Good. Now, what I think you need is to get away from all this for a moment. Change of scene, a bit of relaxation.
What have I been saying?
I'm going to the East End this evening, to Limehouse. I don't suppose you'd care to join me for supper at some exotic Oriental restaurant, would you?
Limehouse? I've never been there. Sounds exciting.
If Julia will agree.
Oh, I'll approach her. I rather think she'll be in a compliant mood, what with all the business the museum's been doing today.
With 2 unsolved murders on your hands, what will Scotland Yard think of your squandering time dining a lady in Limehouse?
Oh, I'm going on a matter connected with this case.
Oh.
Yes, it is business, but I eat, you eat. If I combine all 3, I'm not squandering time, I'm saving it. Shall we say 8 o'clock?
8 o'clock.
Till then. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Who is it?
Tim Fowley, Mum. Good evening, Miss Hawthorne.
Come in, Mr. Fowley. First of the month, and you're Johnny at the Rat Hole to collect your rent.
Oh, no rush, Mum. Mainly I popped by to ask if you'd be staying on.
Isn't there a lease?
All me and Dupree ever had was a handshake. You're welcome to stay on with the same thing if you like.
At a fair boost in rent, no doubt.
Lord love you, no, Mum. Not a shilling. My own business is none too good. I'm happy to have this place rented.
Oh, well, you're a gentleman not to take advantage, Mr. Fowley.
No, ma'am, I'm just a beer salesman. But I'll be happy to have you from to the music hall any time you like, for a pint, on the house.
Well, thank you. I might just do that tonight. My ward is going out for the evening.
Good night, ma'am.
Good night.
The Chinese serve the slipperiest food in the world, then hand you a pair of slippery sticks to pick it up with. Would you ask the dragon lady to come in, please?
Dragon lady?
Yes, Yang Chu, the owner. She'll tell your fortune if you like.
Oh, yes, I like Sergeant.
Michael, please.
Michael. And I'm Meg to those who take me to supper. You haven't found what you came looking for, have you? Oh, I've seen you questioning the owners and waiters in each place we visited, behind my back.
He never was a very clever detective.
I'm sorry you've had bad luck.
I've not had bad luck. The longer it takes, the longer our evening. Oh, good evening, Madam Yang.
Good evening.
May I present Miss Collins?
A great honor, Miss Collins.
Miss Collins would be pleased if you told her fortune.
An even greater honor. Thank you.
Drop them all worth the plate.
Go ahead.
The red stick points directly to the leaves, which are your physical well-being. I regret to say you are in grave danger, Miss Collins.
She always gives the bad first, makes the good look so much better.
There is serious trouble in your life. Someone from beyond the grave is trying to contact you.
Uncle.
Ah, this one falls across the leaves of your heart. There is hope.
Here it comes.
Things will change. You will soon come into a great deal of wealth, and life will be very different for you. The lavender stick. Very good. It tells you to trust a tall stranger who has recently entered your life.
Lavender?
Thank you for adding that, Madame Yang.
I add nothing. The leaves and sticks tell all.
Perhaps you could tell a little of my future, Madame Yang?
If you will hand me your cup.
Without the sticks. A man named Flexner works at the Wax Museum. Do you know him?
Yes, I have seen him.
Night before last?
He was here.
Quite late, say almost dawn?
The law requires we close at 2.
I know the law, and I know you, Madame Yang. Or was it almost dawn?
The law requires we close at 2.
Julia, what are you all doing here?
Southcott insisted on seeing you, although it's a lot of flim-flam in my opinion.
I have a letter concerning you, Miss Collins.
A letter concerning me?
Also Mr. Flexner and Kharkov. It's from Claude Dupree, posted the day he died. Somehow it was lost or misdirected in the post. I only received it late today.
Is it a will?
That question the courts must decide. It bears Dupree's signature and a date. That makes it a valid testament.
Meg. Mr. Southcott. As you know, I've been approached by Mr. Burns to sell out. He keeps raising the price, and it's now very tempting. But what will happen to Flexner and Kharkov? I always intended they should inherit the museum.
So if I should decide to sell, I wish a sizable share of the proceeds to go to them. For my niece, I will bequeath certain other very valuable assets which she may easily convert to cash. But I want you to make sure that Julia Hawthorne, whom you know I dislike and distrust, can't touch the estate which is much larger than anyone suspects. I will make my decision and come to see you about the new will the first of the month.
Make sure my niece is present. Signed, Claude Dupree.
Today is the 1st of the month. He contacted me even though he's in his grave, just as the Dragon Lady predicted.
Nonsense, Meg. Dupree posted the letter while he was still alive. If he posted it at all.
Mr. Southcott, in my opinion, the letter clearly establishes you as the executor of Dupree's estate.
Thank you, Sergeant. Miss Hawthorne, you may stay here and operate the museum together with Mr. Flexner until the courts have ruled on this document.
How do we know this letter, curiously misplaced until now, isn't a forgery?
The signature can be quickly authenticated. May I suggest you leave this dismal place, my dear? Take rooms or go to an hotel.
I've been begging to.
I shall expect an accurate accounting, madam.
Southcott won't let go. He knows something. Lawyers always wind up with a juicy piece of every estate.
Dupree Dupree's letter indicates the estate is much more valuable than anyone suspected.
I knew the old muckworm had a fortune hidden somewhere, and we're not leaving this place until we find it.
Michael, I know I promised to give you 24 hours, but...
Only a few more hours. I brought you this. We are not permitted to carry them. Don't hesitate to use it. I'll be stationed in a cab directly across the street all night. Now, if either of you is disturbed by anything out of the way, signal with a window shade. I have a key and I'll be here immediately.
Same old dreary jaunt as usual, Mr. Fowley.
Same as usual.
Here's hoping you bump into something pleasant for a change.
Same to you, Laurie.
Good night. Evening, love. Lonely like?
Sergeant Hawkes, Scotland Yard. Can I help you, Miss Mel?
Oh, my mistake, Sergeant. Good night, sir. Good night.
Good night, Miss Mel.
Never thought I'd be happy to see a cop.
Here. What are you up to in that outfit?
I didn't hear anything. It's just another one of your bad dreams.
I signaled Sergeant Hawkes. He'll be right here.
Oh, I expect he's sound asleep, too, out there in that carriage. Really, Meg, I think you're becoming an incurable insomniac.
There. That's what made the sound. The guillotine has been sprung.
What do you mean, gone?
Carco. Maybe he can do something.
Maybe he already did. Give me that pistol. It needs a steadier hand.
After Dupree's hidden treasure from the outset. Then when he thought that Dupree was going to sell up and move everything out, he killed him. Then when Meg and Miss Hawthorne came along and still intended to sell, he killed Burns in order that the figures wouldn't be taken to New York.
That poor unfortunate girl from the music hall must have seen him coming back here that night after closing and recognized him.
So he had to kill her, too.
Yes, the man was a master of disguise. We found out that he'd once been an actor.
So when he posed as Uncle in my bedroom that night, he was just trying to frighten me into leaving. Then he'd have a free hand with his search.
And of course, he had keys to every room in the place.
But he couldn't risk being seen coming in the front door. So night after night he'd lock up and come back in through the secret panel.
And poor deaf Kharkov never heard a thing.
Not until the night he saw the girl's body being brought in.
He'd come in wearing one of the Ripper's costumes and go searching for the hidden treasure Dupree told him about.
Well, when he was in danger of being discovered, he'd wheel the figure behind the curtain and take its place.
Well, so far so good, Sergeant.
Now we can start scratching about to find the old Lickpenny's hidden wealth.
That won't be necessary. But one of these instruments from the Ripper's bag is surgical steel. They're all platinum.
The world's most precious metal.
Dupree must have spent years forging them himself.
And hid them in plain sight in the Ripper's bag, a la the purloined letter. Yeah, it was audacious, but it worked.
Then these tools are the other assets mentioned in Dupree's letter.
The Dragon Lady was right then.
Yes, your life is going to be different.
It is finished. And in all modesty, I think both likenesses are perfect.